So a little bit of reflection on the game. Certainly it had all the elements of a great border war. We're happy and fortunate we won the game, and it was another step forward with our program. I want to acknowledge a couple things. First of all, the crowd I thought was unbelievable, because I had heard initially that the temperature was going to maybe be in the mid-20s, and certainly seemed colder than that. And I looked around, and to have that outpouring of support, big shout out to our students. They brought tons of energy, and I guess at the tail end, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's now that this year is the second highest year in Cowboy football history as far as average attendance. So I think it's another step forward with our program. And winning the game was important. We had a 1-0 mantra. Our players bought into that. I think a lot of the guys recognized that 7 wins was going to be important, particularly when you're playing your rival. And then to beat them 4 years in a row is certainly, I think, special. But it did come down to one game. It was a hard-fought game. There was ebbs and flows in the game. And we're certainly excited about coming up with a victory. This next week's opponent, I think it's probably the most complete Air Force team that we've faced since I've been our head football coach. They've played really well. They've got a lot of weapons on offense. They play a lot of different people. They can throw the ball. They can run the ball. They score a lot of points, and they move the ball. Defensively, I think they're really a stingy defense, and their numbers indicate that, and they're solid in the kicking game. And so their one-loss record is not by chance. They're really good, and we've had competitive games. I think every game that we've had since I've been our head coach, with the exception of one when we got kind of shellacked a little bit, but they've been close ball games. And so a lot on the line. We're excited about going to Colorado Springs. I don't know what the weather's going to hold, but during this time of year, who knows? You play however it's going to be played. We had a competitive game last year, and we're anticipating another great game this year. There were no significant injuries during the course of this game, so we're pleased with that. Now there's some bumps and bruises. We'll work through that as we go. But I think everybody should be out today's practice. And our guys are excited. I mean, they've worked hard. They know this is another big opportunity to go 1-0, and so we're excited about that. So at this time, questions from anybody? Yes.
We just heard that Logan Wilson was named one of the Butkus Award finalists. Mm-hmm. What does that mean for this program to have someone recognized like that?
Well, I think it's an indication of you know, the development of our program. When I say development, you know, Logan was not a heavily recruited player. He played in Natrona County and played corner, and so we've done it. I think the program's done a good job developing him, and he's bought into that. It's also great to see our guys get some national recognition. You know, when you start running in that crowd with those type of players, I think it's an indication that, one, people respect what's going on in the Mountain West, and they also know what's going on at Wyoming. And there's probably nobody on our football team that deserves more recognition than Logan, and it's really heartwarming for me, because Logan's main concern is about the Cowboys. He's not a guy that's really trying to garner a lot of these individual national honors, but it's great to see that. Yes, Davis.
How healthy is Tyler with his ankle, and will you rotate Levi in more, expand the package, or sort of?
Well, we're going to take a look at, you know, as we go. We're going to have a padded practice today, and you know, he was able to return. We were a little bit concerned. You know, the initial indication I got when they x-rayed it was, even if it's clean, you didn't think he'd be able to go. And of course, we're down on quarterbacks, and but he was able to come back. I think he'll be a little bit sore. I'll know a little bit more tomorrow. But you know, we met with David, our head trainer, yesterday, and he was given the green light to go.
Everything with X2, is there any concerns there?
He should be further along next week than what he was this week, which will be encouraging. I thought, you know, certainly he ran the ball hard, but he wasn't 100%, and hopefully we'll get him closer. So, but yeah, there was no extra swelling. He moved around fine, and with another week of rehab, we'll get him practicing more this week. But you know, he was a yeoman guy out there, because it was hurting him, but he was putting up a lot of yards, and we needed every yard we could get. Yes.
Any concern coming off an emotional game like the border war, being ready for the next game?
That's always a concern, particularly when you're dealing with college players. You know, the ups and downs. Our locker room was a huge celebration. and rightfully so. This is a big game and a big win, and we were able to retain the booth and, you know, the outpouring of fans and all the pageantry, and I think the fans rushed the field, and so you go, okay, how are you gonna respond the next week? I can tell you this, though, our football team, one, has a great deal of respect for Air Force. And they know what kind of football team that they are. They know that there's a lot on the line, and so we're anticipating they'll be really engaged. I swung through the training room this morning, and the guys seemed excited. So I don't see that, but you're always guarded. Yes.
Air Force defense has been one of the best in the league all year. I'm just curious what you see on the film, what challenges they present.
Here's what they do. They, I think their front really does a great job penetrating and establishing the line of scrimmage. And their linebackers, and I'm a linebacker coach, they're really well coached. And they're keyed down, and they have very few false steps. Pad level's great. I think they got good guys in the back end, and so, you know, some of the years Air Force has been really prolific on offense, but their defense has kind of been lacking. And for them to win, they actually need to outscore some people. And that's not the case right now, and I think that's where they're a more balanced football team. As I said earlier, I think they're the most complete Air Force team that we've faced since I've been our head coach. And a lot of that has to do with their defensive personnel and how they play. Yes.
How tough is it to see that sort of offense? Maybe, you know, you see it once a year. Is that difficult to prep for? How do you kind of get in that mindset?
No, it's a challenge because it is so unique. And, you know, they recognize that. They'll do certain schemes that hardly anybody else does. And one of the reasons why they're able to be successful is the guys that they have in the academy are disciplined. They are role players, they're team players, and they all execute and do what they need to do. And, you know, they don't panic if they're not getting exactly what they want. And so they're very physical, and they have a clear plan. There's not hardly anything that somebody has not presented them with a defense that they don't have an answer to. So it's really going to come down to us executing, tackling, and playing well and being responsible and being responsible for what we're doing. But is it a challenge? You have gone right, it's a challenge. Anything else? A couple people on the line that couldn't make it over to Laradice today. Okay,
Hey,
Davis.
Craig, I was wondering if Titus Wynn or Trey Smith able to play this week?
Neither guy will be cleared. Okay, Davis, go ahead.
Was there ever a moment like Friday night where you looked out there and you thought like what might not have happened if Levi had never, this coach had never happened to Houston? You know he wasn't on your roster?
No, it really didn't. I just knew we had planned to play him.
Yeah.
And it was great to have him. Where I got a little bit concerned was when you know we lost Tyler, and then it looked like Levi was nicked up, and I was looking at Spore. What do you know, Spore? He looked at me, he's kind of plain spoken, not much, coach. It wasn't exactly a great deal of confidence at that time, so I was more concerned about that. But it was great to see Levi compete. Does not surprise us. I think he's got a, you know, really competitive nature, and I wish he would have just fallen down once he got the first down, but that's a young guy competing. But it's encouraging, and I think he did some good things. So, you know, the stars aligned when we recruited him, and I think he's got a bright future.
What have you thought about Zach and Alonzo coming back on the offensive line?
I think that's really helped solidify, especially having some more depth at those spots, and that certainly was helpful in that game. We needed to be able to control the line of scrimmage, and we were able to do so. Okay, big ball game coming up. Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.